Alright, this is take 7 of this video. Something really doesn't want me to make it, but anyways, we're gonna try. So this is a review. I'm gonna keep this really short and simple because I'm trying to get through this now. This is a review for Warhammer Darktide original soundtrack. The installer button is bugged, so you just paste this URL in and it downloads the DLC. It fixes the issue. You're good to go. 182 people voted on it. I get an email at about 1 a.m. says, hey, you upvoted this review. So you're banned from writing reviews, editing reviews, or voting on reviews for a whole month. Fast forward a month later. I mean, I've already been like back and forth and from like 1 a.m. to 5 p.m. on this Steam ticket, and I was starting to get pissed off. But they eventually told me that this is an off-site patch, which it totally wasn't. So eventually, this had gotten passed through so many different hands that they eventually unbanned it like a month later. So I still had to go through the whole ban, but they unbanned it basically, and this is how I got this email from Serana. Now, this kind of brings up a bigger question though that I really want to talk about more is platform holders and terms of service, because this was a gross misinterpretation of terms of service. That is just a problem, and you need to have a clear ToS if you're going to do that. Because so many people will say, well, it's a private company, they can do whatever you want. You know, like, dude, I've got 1,000 games on Steam at this point. I really don't need them banning me for no reason whatsoever, especially when they admit that they falsely banned me. That doesn't instill a lot of trust in me as the customer. And I say this, you know, in direct opposition to YouTube, which I'm currently uploading to, and just because I'm too lazy to use other platforms. I can't mention what platform that is because then Steam will block, or sorry, YouTube will block this video. But that's fine. No, actually, I think I can now that I think about it, because the Linuxcast advertises his channel too. Oh, fuck it. Whatever. Anyways, terms of service on platforms. This is a problem. This is why I shill so hard for decentralized media, social media rather, because when you have a platform holder with strict ToS, it can oftentimes conflict with the community's terms of service. I don't care if you are a private company. I have my own rules. My community has its own rules. You need to respect that. They do not respect that. They have their own rules. Discord, for instance, is fucking PG-13 now. No hentai, no talking about drugs, no alternative software piracy, whatever you want to talk about. You can't do that. Can't do that. You'll get banned. So, of course, being into free software and all this other stuff, I break Discord terms of service a lot. Just random shit I'm talking about. I consider myself a pretty non-controversial person, except when it comes to software. Discord doesn't like that. They finally made a system that lets them enforce the rules, so I'm switching over to Matrix. And why that's important is because I don't feel like I'm breaking any like actual rules that should be in place. So I need a platform that respects my choice. So the arguments I usually hear about decentralized social media, though, because it's federated and you can be defederated, that means censorship occurs. It doesn't really, because your server should be the people you're talking to. The fact that it's federated just means that other people have to see what you say. But if you can convince people to join your instance, you should be good. And if you don't like when you sign up for an instance, you agree to their rules, whether it be on Mastodon or Matrix or whatever. And as long as you agree to those rules, you're good to go. Otherwise, you can self-host. You can find an instance that does share your values. You should be fine. Whether it gets defederated or not just goes to show what your values are compared to the rest of the people. So usually when we're talking about mainstream platforms, people will say, well, we don't want any edgy people on here. You know, if you're too political, if you're too not safe for work, if you say a lot of racist shit, we don't want you on the platform at all. You need to be kicked off. And that's fine if that's your values, but let's say I actually want to see that content, you know, for whatever reason. Let's just say like I'm a free speech extremist and I actually want to see stuff about, you know, really political or really edgy extremism or something. That should be my own choice, you know, and I don't like it that the platform makes the choice for me. I kind of put a lot of value on that. I feel like the freer people are to speak, the more honest they become. and it turns out that people are kind of dark. They're not really that sterile. And they'll say shit that you don't want to see, or they'll say shit you don't want to hear, you know? Um, and that's a real problem, you know? Why do I have to see somebody saying anti-Semitic shit? Why? And I was like, well, sadly, that just comes down to free speech, you know? Now, this isn't to be confused with legal free speech, which people will also argue. They'll say you don't have a right to free speech on a platform, and that is not what I am referring to. What I am referring to is when Elon Musk said that Twitter should respect your free speech. That means you can say what you want within the rules. Um, Now, what those rules are will depend on what service you're on, but I feel like the platform holder should at least respect that much, you know, where you don't feel like you're not allowed to say what you want to say. This is completely different from your legal right to free speech, which is where you will not be thrown in jail for what you say unless it breaks international law, or, sorry, national law. Um, that is very different from what I am referring to as free speech, so do not make that argument. So what I'm saying is that if a lot of people don't want to be exposed to the like fringe extremes that you get with like complete free speech, and that's fine. You can join any instance that blocks that, and you should be good to go. The part I don't like is when you have the other extreme, which is where you can't say curse words, you can't talk about drugs, you can't talk about piracy, you can't talk. Basically, when the terms of service conflict with what people want to talk about, you have a problem. You know, you have a conflict there. People will have to move to a different platform, and I don't like that the platform holders have that level of control, because it means that the software you use has control over the users. And has gotten to an alarming degree where I personally find that it's conditioning, brainwashing, whatever you want to call it. Because these rules are so strict, I would consider them completely sterile. Um, and what I don't like about that is you're conditioning people to follow these rules, even if, in their honest opinion, they don't really want to follow those rules. Whether it be about, again, drugs, gambling, um, not safe for work stuff, whatever. That's something that I feel like should be in the control of the community rather than the platform. And decentralized social media excels at that. Despite what people say, you know, that you can get defederated because you harbor neo-Nazis. That's fine. As long as your instance has neo-Nazis, you can stay there. You'll be good. It doesn't have to be spread to Fostodon, you know. They don't want to see that. The General Federation will have its own rules, and you don't have to be part of it. But as long as you have enough of an audience, you can talk with people that generally want to see what you what you have to say. And I think that makes for more honest people. Where if they're given enough freedom, they will say what they want to say, and they will be better off for it. I feel like debate would be better. I feel like people would be happier. You know, it kind of drives me insane to use these platforms and know that with the slightest slip up, I can be banned, or I can be restricted or censored. You know, I don't feel like the platform. I don't feel like I should be beholden to that. I feel like I should be able to moderate myself and the people within my community. And again, Matrix is great at that. The Matrix.org home server, I believe, will just ban you for abusing the network. You know, like if you're trying to DDoS it, or if you're doing a lot of spam or spreading child porn or something, you know. That stuff, you know, whatever is against network rules. It's kind of like old IRC servers where their only real rule was just don't abuse the network, you know, don't do anything strictly illegal. And I feel like that's a much better option, because then you are not a member of the platform. That's important to remember. When you sign up for Discord, you are signing up for Discord because you want to talk to your friends or a community. You are not signing up for Discord because you want to file a Discord ToS. If your community has that ToS, that is what you signed up for. And I feel like that's a problem that we've encountered, where you either have free speech extremism or you have absolutely no free speech, and you are very heavily censored. And I feel like that's a major problem. Well, that's really about all I wanted to talk about. So I brought up the Steam ToS because this was a gross misinterpretation of their own ToS, and um, I feel like that's, it really erodes my trust in companies to have a very clear set of rules that I personally would sign up for. Because, like, let's say I actually did want to host an offsite patch, I don't feel like I should be banned for that. But Steam tells me because I signed up for their service that I have to deal with it, So now if I want to break that rule, I can't do it because they will fuck me over. Um, and that's kind of why I want to move away from these services, and I want to use them like bare functionality. I've already gotten off social media. I'm off Twitter. I'm off um, Discord. I'm off all this garbage. I'm off Facebook, but I got to keep my Steam account because I got like 1,000 games here. If I ever want to play them, I got them. They got Proton. It's very good. But I don't want to be fucked like this again because I actually do host an offsite patch, and people rely on it, and I don't plan on removing it. But it's not a review, so I should be good. Um, who knows? Maybe it's so niche that they won't get onto me for it, but that's kind of what I wanted to say, is just that I don't like the idea that platform holders have such a level of control over their users. I don't think it's right. I don't think that it creates a very hostile environment for the user where they don't feel like they can say what they want to say. And that's kind of what I hold above all else, is that I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight for your right to say it, and I will convince people that they need to, even if you have nothing to say, you need to find a platform where you can say it, because there may come a time where you do have something to say, and you'll be like, oh shit, I can't say it because I'm on this platform. But I'm starting to find something out about these platforms, and now I can't say it. Or whatever it may be, You may become less sterile over time. You may have experiences, you may come in contact with people that don't agree with what you say, and you'll be kind of mystified, like, oh shit, how do I deal with these people? There's no longer a platform controlling me. And now I may be exposed to things that I may not want to hear, And I think people should not only, it's not a, if you can't handle what other people say, you're a snowflake. I'm not saying everything has to be the 4chan Wild West. No, because I use a Mastodon instance where their TOS is very, very strict, like a lot more strict than Discord, a lot more strict than YouTube. If you're not talking about software, you're probably going to get banned. And I accept that because that's the community I wanted to join, and I joined it to talk about software. So I find that kind of, but the community created those rules. The platform did not create those rules. So I actually did agree to those when I signed up, whereas I don't feel like I do that when I'm signing up for a platform. And I think that, the conflict between those two is where we need to draw the line, and why we need to start switching over to decentralized social media, alternative media platforms, that kind of thing. Because this just isn't sustainable. It's going to create a system where you either have people that have been expelled from social media and people that, are still mazed on it. People that will follow the TOS to the letter and not get in any trouble, but then you slip up once, you get in trouble, and then suddenly you're deplatformed, And how strict we allow that to be is where I find the conflict. But that is all I had to say about it. Thanks.